Every generation thinks they've finally cracked the code. A new asset, a new system, a new revolution. And every single generation is wrong in exactly the same way. Every financial revolution begins with a promise. A promise to fix what's broken. A promise to democratize wealth, to replace the corrupt old systems with something fairer, faster, and smarter. They never sell it to you as greed. They sell it as progress. This time is different, they say. The old rules don't apply anymore. You just don't get it yet. And that's how it starts. Not with outright fraud, not even with lies, but with something far more powerful: belief. Let's wind the clock back to the 1600s. The Netherlands was the center of the world, rich, powerful, and supremely confident. Trade was booming, money was flowing like water, and then came tulips. Not your garden variety flowers. We're talking rare, exotic tulips. Tulips so beautiful and fashionable they became the ultimate status symbols, the luxury watches of their day. At the peak of what we now call Tulip Mania, a single, rare bulb could cost more than a grand house on an Amsterdam canal. People weren't buying these tulips to plant in their gardens. They were buying them to flip them for a profit. Sound familiar? Everyone knew it was insane, but the prices just kept going up. Until one day, they didn't. The music stopped, and the entire market collapsed, seemingly overnight. Fortunes were wiped out. The first great financial revolution ended just like all the others that would follow. Now, let's fast forward through history. Railroads, automobiles, radio. The dotcom boom. Each era had its own miracle technology. Each one promised limitless growth and a new paradigm. And each one convinced legions of investors that the old-school fundamentals, things like profits and assets, no longer mattered. In the roaring 20s, stocks only went up. In the 1990s, website clicks were more important than actual revenue. In the 2000s, it was an article of faith that housing prices could never, ever fall. Different assets, different eras, but the exact same psychology. It was pure speculation, dressed up in the shiny clothes of innovation. By 2008, you'd think we would have learned our lesson. We hadn't. Instead of tulips or dotcom stocks, we had complex financial products with names so confusing they put you to sleep. Mortgage-backed securities, collateralized debt obligations. The real risk was buried deep inside layers of complex math that almost no one truly understood. Accountability vanished. When the whole rotten structure inevitably collapsed, governments had to step in. The banks were saved. The people weren't. The lesson from all this should have been obvious, but the system learned a very different one. If you're big enough, you don't really fail. And then came crypto. It was born from the ashes of the 2008 crisis. It was a rebellion against the banks, a revolution against government control, a brand new financial order built on pure code instead of fallible human trust. Decentralized, permissionless, unstoppable. At least, that was the pitch. Bitcoin was positioned as digital gold. Ethereum was the foundation for a new, decentralized internet. And every other coin was just early. You were getting in on the ground floor. Millions of people believed they were witnessing history in the making. What they were actually witnessing was history repeating itself. Prices didn't just rise, they exploded into the stratosphere. Social media influencers replaced financial analysts. Mind-numbing complexity replaced transparency, and any form of criticism or skepticism became heresy. If you questioned the narrative, you were just old. You were scared, you were a hater, or you were just too stupid to understand the future. Then, the familiar signs of a bubble started to appear, one by one. Fake projects with no real product. Promises of impossible, fake yields. So-called stable coins that were anything but stable. Entire cryptocurrencies vanished overnight. Massive exchanges, once thought to be pillars of the industry, collapsed into dust, taking billions of customer funds with them. The revolution didn't overthrow the old system, it just recreated it. Only this time it was faster, wilder, and had virtually no rules or safety nets. Here's the uncomfortable truth at the heart of all this. Financial revolutions don't fail because the core idea is necessarily bad. They fail because human nature doesn't change. Greed will always scale faster than technology. Our optimism will always outpace reality. And our capacity for belief will always outrun the cold, hard math. Every bubble, from tulips to tokens, tells people exactly what they desperately want to hear. You're early. You're smarter than the rest. This is your chance. Until, suddenly, you're not. And when the collapse comes, it's never elegant. It's not a gentle decline. It's sudden, it's ugly, and it's brutally simple. The liquidity that once seemed infinite vanishes in an instant. The confidence that held everything up evaporates, and everyone realizes at the exact same moment that there was never a floor. The emperor had no clothes. Every financial revolution ends the same way because the revolution is never truly about the asset itself. It's about the story. A powerful, seductive story. And as long as people believe in stories more than they believe in numbers, there will always be another bubble just around the corner. It will have a different name. It will be powered by a different technology, but it will have the same ending, because the most expensive words in the history of finance have been, and will always be, "This time is different." Thanks for watching. If this made you think, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the patterns that shape our world. See you in the next one.